Looking for some deep, thoughtful, insightful reviews of the movies Thanksgiving and Godzilla -1? Well, you ain't gonna find them here, but hang tight.
Shock Tales.
I'm your mass old baker, and he's your penis Sylvanian, Johnny Thunder. Hey, how's it hanging, dude? What's happening?
What's going on, genius?
Just preparing for Krampusnacht. You know, also for recovering from our Halloween party. Still, you know,
how was it?
Cleaning out all the red Solo cups, getting, you know, returning the empty kegs, cleaning my puke out of the urinals. You know, it's, you know, this, you know. Plus, I have had a massive amount of dead hookers piling up. They just weren't going to bury themselves, so that, you know, I had to take care of that as well.
Well, you know, life's not easy. I get it. You know, I understand. So, you know, you got to keep on keeping on, brother.
It ain't sleazy. I know. So, dude, how was your spooky season?
Good. Yeah. I wasn't able to work the baits this season. You know, for usual, just some personal reasons.
You sacroiliac?
No. I just had some physical issues, so I'm hoping to get back there next year. They were nice enough to have me up the last weekend before. Had a great experience going through everything because I hadn't been through the show for a couple of years, and it was awesome. Like, they did a bunch of upgrades to not only the hayride but the corn and the house. And going through as a customer is a pretty cool experience. So I really dug it.
I'm shocked that you don't make it through each year, but I guess probably from being out there. How many nights do you do? 6 or 6 nights, 8 nights?
Like weekends, yeah. So like usually it's like opening weekend, like Friday, Saturday, and then I'm usually doing a couple Fridays, Saturdays. So it's been less, but just with everything else, you know, and it was nice this season to be able to do other stuff. You know what I mean? Like to have more free time and not have the weekends necessarily tied to the haunt. Even though, like I said, I wanted to go back this year, but I missed it.
Were there any fan riots because people showed up and then Bubba wasn't in line and they were, Bubba's not doing kill line. What the fuck? You know, pitchforks and like, you know, and they're going crazy.
No, but it was funny because when I did go through as a customer, when I got on the hayride, people were like, "Do you work here?" I'm like, "No." And then like we're going past a video of me like in the hayride in the new old Wild West scene, and then we're going.
And you're like,
we're going through the corn, and kids are like, and of course like the actors recognize me, but then like there were kids who were like, "Dude, do you work here?" I was like, "No."
What are you trying to insinuate? That I look like I do? That I'm one of these carny freaks? Get out of here.
Exactly. No, so but I was fortunate. Like I said, I was able to do some acting stuff. I was out at my buddy Jeremiah Crow's House of Oddities and Curious Goods out in Elizabethtown. He had it's a free oddities museum out there, and he did an artist exhibit sort of fair. And it's right in the center of town, so I got to do line entertainment basically out there for the afternoon, which was cool. He had customers coming in and patrons going to the different. He had some artists, some tattoo artists, T-shirt people, and so I got to play with people. It's like the main intersection. It's like a 4-way, so I'm going up to like people literally parked in cars, and people are like screaming, and a lot of people were taking pictures and laughing and stuff. So it was cool. Same way I went to the media horror indie Fright Fest, again dressed in character, and of course, as my friend said, he's like, I love watching you hold court with everyone as you walk in and as you go in, and I did my line entertainment nonsense. Like I said, I'm delightful. Like I'm such a delightful character. I mean, look at all this, right? I mean, who could resist? And Deadville Production down had a show at Bar 13 in Wilmington, and it was a costume party show. So I got to do Stinky Face at that one. So
yeah, that was
hung out and had a lot of fun. It was it was a rad show. There were so many rad bands, so it was fun.
Now, if I will post some pictures of Stinky Face. Now, I don't know if I had noticed this before, or you just maybe added this as a new addition, but the little deuce on the rim, was that new, or was that always there?
That was new. That was new. Because I had the toilet seat when I did them a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And then I had like spray paint. And I actually took corn, so I hot glue gunned some like corn all over it. But then I was like, this year, because originally then I ordered the le poo poo, and originally my idea was I was going to stick it out of the mask like as a cigar.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I don't want to try to drink a beer. With that hanging out of my mouth. So then I just glue it, and I was like, well, let me hang it off. And my wife was like, that is the worst thing I've ever seen. And I was like, yes.
You're like, yes,
it is.
yes.
So it was fun. And then, like I said, I did, trick or treat at the house. I did the new Scarecrow character, which I literally came up with like a week before trick or treat. So it was fun. And again, like I said, I only get about 60, 70 kids. But it's fun. Like I said, I put up the corn stalks that morning, and we did the Scarecrow character, ran around, and it was cool. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. How about you?
I had
the yard looked great.
I had an absolutely epic season. It was one of the best seasons. I could end my haunt career, my home haunt career on this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was awesome. Well, nice. my son Liam was back home with me, and he had the day off. Like it's complicated. He lost his apartment, and then he was in transition, so he was kind of working in Boston a couple of days, and then coming home and staying with me for a few days. He did that for about 3 months. So he had Monday and Tuesday off. So Tuesday, I'm like, "Are you available on Halloween?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Do you want to help out? Because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for you right now," because he had never helped out before, because he was still trick or treating up until he was almost in college. Then he was in college, not around because he was in college the entire time. And then this is the first time he's been back. And he's like, yeah, I'll help out. And I'm like, fantastic. So I haven't done a walkthrough, and now I wouldn't even call this really a walkthrough, but I did create like a one. You come in, you kind of go in, you take a left and then a right, and then there was a big chair. I had like a drop panel set up, and then a big chair where he was sitting, and he had the whole Scarecrow outfit. Now, I had that Scarecrow outfit on a dummy last year as a decoy, and I've used it. So, and I've worn that costume several years in a row. So I put the costume, I put the Scarecrow out with that costume out and left it in my driveway for about 2 weeks before. And then, so then I had him put the costume on, and he sat in the same chair in that little walk-in area. And so he had a push button for the drop panel. And then he would just basically sit there like he was a Scarecrow, and then kind of just twitch a little bit or whatever, get a little startled, give him some candy, and then as they would like basically walked right around and were exiting, I come blasting out and hit them all, scare the shit out of them, and then as they run out the door, run their way out the driveway, I would hit them with the air cannon, and they would get blast them with the air cannon on the way out the door. And it was just great. It was just a tiniest little walkthrough, but dude, it increased the amount of ever since I stopped doing the walkthrough, we've had a decrease in trick-or-treaters. Still more than plenty, still like 700, 800 or whatever. This year we were back up to like 1,200 plus. One of the neighbors was counting how many. This is just trick-or-treaters. We're not counting the parents or the other people who just kind of wanted to walk in and see what was going on. Right. So it was probably over 1,500 people who came through my little walk-through yard and saw the yard, and we're on the street, and the streets were packed. And the guys down the street have now got into the game, so they're fogging out the street and decorating their yard. So the whole street was just freaking insane. And so it was just, I don't know how much of it. I did set up 2 cameras to try to get scare cam. Hopefully I'll have those out in a couple of weeks. So I haven't even looked at the footage because I've been too busy. But it was just phenomenal. By the time Halloween was over, I turned to my son and I said, Liam, I think this is the last year of me doing anything in the driveway. I think this is it for any type of walkthrough I'm still doing the full yard display, and I'll sit out there and give out candy, and I'll have a couple of push button things. I'll still jump out and scream at them and whatever.
So Grandpa Baker is going to retire,
but I'm just gonna dial it back. I'm just not gonna do I kind of just scaled it up to doing a little walkthrough again, which I kind of told the neighbors I wasn't gonna do, and then
you realize you're saying this now. Of course, you're not going to do that. You're not going to scale it back.
I'm gonna have a 5-room next time around.
You're gonna buy the property next door, and it's I knocked the house next door just to build a whole side yard.
I know I talk so much shit, and I always change my mind. Yeah,
we have no idea. Anybody that's ever listened to the show for the past 40 years has no idea.
It's a wicked shocker. So anyway, it was phenomenal. And I got to go to 3 different haunts. I went up to Salem to Ed Gannon's Chamber of Terrors.
Yeah.
Small haunt, but so much fun, man. I had so much fun. And all I had to do was give him a free Hauntcast shirt. That was my admission in. He probably wouldn't have charged me.
Bartering system, yeah.
He probably wouldn't even have charged me anyway. Yeah. But I was like, I'll give you a T-shirt. That's what And then because he wanted to buy one, I'm like, how about I just give you one and you let me through the haunt? We'll call it even. He's like, yeah, dude. So I went up there, got dinner, had a few drinks at the dispensary, and then I went to Fright Kingdom, which I haven't been up to in about 5 years, and that is phenomenal. And then I went to this other place called the Dark Woods Walk, which I had found out from that Alexandra from Halloween New England that I interviewed a while back, and it was freaking great. It was like a small, all outdoor, right on a farm, and it was an absolute blast. The actors were so interactive. It was like every scene you went into had like a cue line actor in it. Like they were that interactive. They were like chatting. They would like give you a startle, and then they'd be chatting up and running dialogue with you and like getting you into it. And it was just, I had a blast. And it was, so they were right about 20 minutes away from each other, so I could hit both of them in one shot.
Okay.
So all in all, I had a phenomenal season.
It's intermission time, folks. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share on social media. And don't forget to turn on notifications as not to miss any juicy haunt content.
And now, on with the show.
All right, so take it away.
Oh, hey.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I have no idea. Well, like I said, the last bar on the left's being fumigated tonight, so I couldn't hang out at the bar. So, my second favorite thing is always just go drinking up the woods. So I grabbed a 6-pack, and I'm up here in the cemetery. So my name's Johnny Thunder. Welcome back to the last 6-pack on the left. And like I said, the party's always wherever we are. So here I am in the cemetery, the very real cemetery behind me. Look. See, I'm the Ed Wood of backdrops for YouTube, so it's a very real cemetery. So on my side of the bar, as always, and we actually get to show it, I'm bringing you Bell's Two Hearted Ale. What about you, genius?
No, I got some of these cool little gummy things. I don't know where they're from. They're lemon lime squishers or something. Yes, they're sponsoring my end of the.
Yeah, not legal in all states. Sorry, Tennessee. Everybody, welcome back. Like we said, this is Shock Tales, and it's the first time we've ever done it this way. Much to the chagrin of the audience, I'm sure. Looking at.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I want to apologize in advance for this. But so this time we wanted to talk about a couple movies that have been out, and again, it's kind of low-hanging fruit because I think the 2 flicks that we're going to talk about aren't exactly controversial. They're pretty well-liked, so I think we're just going to give our own thoughts and BS as usual. But the first one, what do you want to hit first? Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Because it was the last sequential.
We'll go in order. Correct.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So Thanksgiving was, of course, the long-awaited actual full version flick from Eli Roth based on his faux Grindhouse trailer from years ago. And I was actually lucky enough. I actually went to the theater when Grindhouse was released. So it was the double feature plus all the faux trailers. And it was, honestly, did you go when it was?
No, I didn't catch it in theaters. No,
it was. I'm not kidding, because we went to dinner. We went out. I think it was 5.5 hours, 6 hours. It was incredibly long, but it was one of the greatest. Like, just sort of like, this is like awesome. Like, it was fantastic. So like we said, Eli Roth first introduced the faux trailer for a fake slasher from the 80s called Thanksgiving, and all these years, everyone's been like, you have to make a movie, you have to make a movie, you have to actually make a movie. So he finally did. Now, the original trailer, of course, was a lot more down and dirty, and like just this kind of real 80s kind of idea of
that gritty,
80s slasher. Like My Bloody Valentine, or like, you can name off a bunch of other exploitation sort of like slasher flicks. The full-length version is more of and I think he's already said this, it's almost like it's the modern remake of the movie that would have been from like 1980, 1981, right? So it's sort of an updating, and it's not set in the 80s, it's set in a modern time.
So we rebooted his fake movie.
That's exactly what he said. That's what he wanted to do. He said, he's like, I literally was trying for all these years to think about how I could do this, and he wanted to basically go, oh, this is a clever idea. Like, it's kind of like really like super meta. Like, it's like, oh, I'm rebooting a movie that never existed, right? So like, that's actually already clever. And this time around, it's after a horrible tragedy at a faux Walmart kind of store on Black Friday. I think a year later, there's this killer that comes back to seek revenge, who wears the garb of John Carver, who is this. I know you would know better than me, masshole. This was right up your alley. This was all like set like in. Was it Cape Cod, or was it just Massachusetts?
Or
Plymouth
is right off the Cape.
Okay.
I think at one point they considered Plymouth the Cape, but it's really not the Cape. Like the Cape, you have to go over the canal.
I didn't know you were so capist.
Yeah, no, they have to go over the canal. Believe me, the people call me. I'm considered a wash ashore because I wasn't born here. So even people on the Cape, now people aren't that. Most people are wash ashores down here. But if you watch Jaws, they talk about if you're not born on the island, you're not an islander.
Yeah,
the Cape is kind of the same way, but not to that extreme. It's more light. If you talk to probably an old salty fisherman, he probably will tell you that. But most of like your people have moved down here or vacation down here forever, and then they retire here, that type of thing. But this was, but you have John Carver, who was one of the Pilgrims, I think. I haven't hit the history books in quite a while.
I actually didn't bother to fact check, so I'm just going to go, okay. So like everybody in town gets this little mask, and they're going to do like the big Thanksgiving Day parade. What I really, really dug about it was the fact that it was a slasher film 2023, but played completely straight. It wasn't ironic. It wasn't trying to be campy. Because again, I try to avoid like anything about the trailers, anything about I didn't even know that Patrick Dempsey was in it. So when he showed up as the sheriff, I was like, oh my God, Patrick Dempsey. I was like, oh, that's cool. And again, like for overall, like I thought most of the characters were pretty likable. I thought the lead, she was pretty likable. I thought everybody played it straight, which I dug. Like I said, it wasn't, trying to be funny, trying to be over the top, or trying to be clever necessarily. And it was just a straightforward, great slasher film. I had a great time, and there's some great kills. He kind of reinterprets some of the kills from the fake trailer, which I thought was fun. He repositions the infamous trampoline cheerleader scene, which was always my favorite kill from the trailer. And there's a big twist ending. It may or may not be a twist, but I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't seen it by now. But I thought it was a great time. And what I loved was, because it was so well received, they've already greenlit a sequel, and Thanksgiving 2 will be out in 2025. Now, whether, again, it's another John Carver, killer, somebody assuming that same, identity, or it's another town with another Thanksgiving parade, and maybe it's, I don't know.
Should be like Tom the Turkey, something like that. Yeah,
me dressed as a cranberry sauce, and I go around and slime people. I don't know. That would be, look me up, Eli. So I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Couple of things that I enjoyed. Well, one disappointment was I thought it was going to be in the Grindhouse style. My son had seen it just before I did, like the day before I did. And I'm like, oh, how was it? And he's like, oh, it was great. You should really go, Dad, you'll love it. And I'm like, okay. And I go, hey, was it all like that Grindhouse? Because I don't even know if he knew what Grindhouse was. I'm like, right. Was it all that, like that distorted, like, you know, it looked like an old film and stuff like that? He goes, no, it was just like normal. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. So when I got there, I was like, oh, I'm kind of disappointed. But, even though the movie wasn't shot that way, the kills were kind of, the kills were like a little over the top Grindhouse style, right. which I dug. Right. And I actually thought that they did do a pretty damn good job with all the Boston accents, like the math holes in the movie.
I was because I thought of you the whole time. I was like, I wish we could have seen that one together, because I was like, that's awesome.
Like the best kid was that Hanover football kid. He was totally like, who started who grabbed the bullhorn and started the riot into the store on Black Friday. He was pretty good. And some people, they did a fair enough job with it. Like sometimes it's just, they do such a poor job with pulling it off, and it's just horrible. But I was going to say, people do like Philly accents or like Delaware County accents, and they sound like they're from New York. I'm like, that's not even close. Yeah. So, because that's why sometimes I hear people are supposed to be doing Boston or like, New England accents, and they sound like they're from New York. And I'm like, I don't think that sounds anything like it. But yeah, it was, like I said, I had a big shit-eating grin on my face most of the movie. The kills were over the top and awesome, and the twist ending, like I usually you can spot. I don't know if you picked out and you already anticipated the twist at the end. I didn't, so I was, when it happened, it wasn't like it blew me away, but I was like, oh, that's okay, that's cool. Kind of know. Maybe I had a suspicion, but but yeah, no. Like I said, I'm always a big sucker for a slasher flick. Anybody in a with an axe or a knife and a mask. And the fact, I appreciated the fact that it was played straight, and it wasn't necessarily trying to be a parody of it, which I was a little concerned that it might have been. But, I dug it. So I had a great time. Cool. Now, next is Godzilla -1. Ooh, yeah. So Godzilla -1. But again, like right now, this is a film that's standing at 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I know. I've literally not seen one negative review online. I haven't. So yeah, that's why I was like, well, let's do something. Like I said, low hanging fruit, but it is what it is. Whatever. But Godzilla -1 is the latest from the Japanese Toho company that kind of, I don't want to say reboots it, but it takes the story back to the original Godzilla, set after the end of World War II, and dealing with the rebuilding of Japan after the war. It focuses on a kamikaze pilot who abandons his duty, his honor, in their culture, and when he returns to the mainland after the war, is met with rejection, loss, grief, PTSD, previously having an experience with a local legend monster at the end of the war named Godzilla, then realizes that this new threat to the country that's emerged after the rebuilding, the monsters now become super atomically powered, nuclear powered by testing by the United States off the coast of Japan. So it's a story not only of the monster, but in a lot of ways, and the overall theme, I think, really is about PTSD and loss and death and rebuilding and redemption. And it was, I was really pleasantly surprised by how personal the story was and how personal the movie was, and
you're dealing with this personal story of this former pilot and this woman that he takes in along with a baby that's been abandoned, and the neighbors and everyone trying to rebuild their land, and his co-workers, and trying to rebuild their society with this looming threat of this monster, right? And the monster, of course, represents death and war and loss. And it was frightening. The sense of dread just when they talked about that there was something out there, or just every time that the monster comes on screen, it was frightening. Like, Godzilla was rightfully returned to a place of just being this specter of death and this destruction and this monster. And what I loved too was how the creature operated underwater. You know, it was very fast and agile and reptilian, amphibious, whatever you want to say, and quick, and just like really effing scary, right? When it came on land, it was big and heavy and thick and cumbersome. So the tail and the legs were heavy and thick and like moving them around, because think about, if you're that fast underwater, you can withstand all that pressure underwater, you know, and he's propelling himself with his legs and his tail. When he's on land, it's going to be a lot more cumbersome, but nonetheless destructive. Like I said, I loved it. I love every version of Godzilla. I'll take him, you know, doing WWF moves on, you know, Mothra.
Dancing and jumping up into the sky.
And it's almost like Batman in the sense that I love Batman. I'll take Batman The Dark Knight. I'll take Batman Adam West. I'll take Batman, whatever animated version, having fun, being an a-hole, you know, doing whatever. But this Godzilla was really, truly just terrifying. The way that they portrayed to the atomic breath, again, the personification of the threat of nuclear annihilation. They allude a lot to the fact that the way post-war Japan had to operate under the, you know, the current U.S.-Soviet tensions. But every time that the monster amped up to use its breath was just insane. And again, no spoilers. But again, I think at this point everybody's seen this, and this is no hot take. But that last 5-10 minutes when there's, again, spoilers, but there's the naval armada of the citizens that try to surround and try to take down the monster themselves. When it popped up out of the water and it tried to nuke up, and when it went silent and the monster turns to the screen, I sat there and I was like, holy, it was one of the scariest like moments, I think, really in the past year on film. It was like you sat there and then like there's like another 5 minutes of a sequence of a silence of the film.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
I was literally, when it turned to the camera, and I was like, you're in the position of a sailor on the boat. You're one of the citizens on the boat. And it just looks and it goes. It was effing scary. It was a really terrifying film. So what I loved was then you have this, like I said, this personal story, which was heartbreaking, again, dealing with loss and death and redemption and love, juxtaposed with, again, this sense of dread and honestly, this god of death. It was there were tears in the theater. I mean, there were people that were really, really moved by this. It was I like I said, it's one of the best Godzilla flicks I've seen. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. When that silence, when all of the audio just drops out, usually in the movie theaters, people just won't shut the F up, and you can always hear them chattering and just making noise. I couldn't hear, and it was total, utter silence.
Absolutely,
and,
absolutely.
And everybody's just sitting there, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa!
Yep.
It was like,
absolutely.
bam!
Absolutely,
bam! It was very impactful.
Absolutely,
and
that's what I was going to say too. What was interesting, I was going to mention the sound and the soundtrack, the monster, the Godzilla's scream, apparently what they did was they didn't recreate it. They recorded it from the original Gojira, the Japanese version, and then they played it back, the recording. So it's a recording of a recording. And that sound was just insanely frightening. And as you had said, when you have this scream, which is frightening, the absence of any sound and the anticipation of the sound made it even more, again, frightening. It really was.
Yeah. Usually, and I'm with you. I could pretty much any Showa era, the millennium, all the different eras of Godzilla. I could kind of sit through and watch them. Even the newer American versions. I could kind of you're in most cases it's like martial arts movies or porn. They have all this filler dialogue and nonsense, and all you want to do is get to the monster destroying shit or battling the other monster. You just want to get to the action. In this movie, this was the first time that was not the case.
That didn't take long, did it?
And this was the first time. And plus, once again, Toho, they know their audience. Unlike, modern Marvel and Star Wars and Doctor Who, who have lost total, sight on who their real audience is. Toho knows their audience. They come out of the gate with like, boom, they hit you with some destruction, total mass mayhem, craziness, and then they get into the movie. They start out of the gate. I think there was only one thing, if I was to criticize any of the movie whatsoever, it was, I think in the second half, it could have used just maybe one more Godzilla insert in there, like one more, like I wish he could have just been in there one more time. Before, it just seemed like a huge gap between the second and the final time that we see him on screen. And maybe that's great for the build-up. I just kind of felt like it would have been great if they had got him in there with one more short scene
I think that's what I would argue, that it was the build-up to the end, the build-up to the finale. But like I said, I agree. It was really an experience. And if anybody hasn't seen it by now, and it could, because I did just announce that they've extended the run for a little bit. I think it's
going to be in about 2,500 theaters this weekend or whatever.
I would definitely. I think this is, and I rarely say this, but this is a movie that I think you need to see in the theater. Oh yeah, just for the sound, just for the experience. And I
just to get the full size of Godzilla, especially with some of the shots that they took from like street, from the person eye view looking up at the creature, just to have that on a big screen was just outstanding. It was just crazy.
I loved it, and like I said, and this is a great time to be a Godzilla fan, right? Because also right now if you have Apple TV. There's Legacy. It's Monarch Legacy of Monsters. I don't know if you have Apple TV, but you should check it out. My friend James Fear turned me on to that, and Kurt Russell is in it. So it's I think an 8-episode TV show. It's based on the current Godzilla situation, and of course in 2024 we have another Godzilla Kong movie coming. So and again that one's a little more in the. Like Godzilla doing, aerobics and, dancing around, but I'm, like I said, I'm here for all of it.
It's like a little kid crashing toys together, they're just like smashing.
That's what I said. Like, I'm here for all of it. And like I said, right now issue 3 of Justice League versus Kong and Godzilla is coming out. IDW has a bunch of MonsterVerse comic books out every month. So it's amazing that there's so much content out right now. But again, cause it's like dudes our age now is, making all the stuff, so it's a fun time. All right, everybody, as always, thank you for listening. This is Johnny Thunder and
the Genius
saying, stay scary.
I'm going now. Heaven help you.
Please subscribe, like, comment, and share before leaving the bar. It costs you nothing, but it's a huge help.